It's your girl Carrie, and today I will be sharing Tablescaping 102. Now, a couple of years back I did a Dollar Tree Tablescaping 101 video, and you guys seem to love that. So this video is going to just pretty much be building upon what we already learned and what we already have. And this is going to be a no cost, or a low cost actually, tablescape, because I'm going to take things that I've already had, that I've used in tablescapes in the past, and mesh them together to make an entirely new tablescape. So here are all the items that I pulled to make our casual Sunday supper tablescape, and you guys are familiar with all of these pieces. This is a no cost, well actually a low cost tablescape, because I did add one element that you have not seen before. So my jumping off point were these napkins that I shared with you in my Dollar Tree Tablescaping 101 video. And I wanted to use these because I could pull the colors from this napkin. I also shared these plates I absolutely love. They were a Dollar Tree find several years ago. And I also used these plates on my Dollar Tree Tablescaping 101 video. So what I wanted to do was pull in this teal, and I'm going to show you how I build on what I have. So I wanted to pull the teal into this tablescape. You guys have seen these plates in my Thanksgiving tablescape, I think about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I think it was called the TJ Maxx Clearance Challenge tablescape. And I also used these a couple of years ago on my mom's tablescape as well. And you've seen these pumpkins every single fall on my tablescapes, and these tie into the napkins as well. So this is my color palette. And then over here we have all of my rose gold and copper serveware, wine glasses, and salt and pepper shakers. We've seen these several times on several holiday tablescapes. Down here we have the beautiful peacock blue flatware. You've seen that on the Thanksgiving tablescapes. And we have several types of glasses and stemware. So let's get started with putting this tablescape together. So first I'm going to start with my centerpiece, and this typically stays on my center of my table all the time. I just switch it out. This past summer it looked like this, and last year for fall it looked like this. So I wanted to show you the process before I finished off this arrangement. What I did was I took out all of the summer florals, and I'm just going to leave this mossy base here. And as you can see, I kind of stuffed inside. It's just plastic shopping grocery bags, Kroger bags, to kind of fill everything up, and then I can just put the moss on top. And what I typically do is I get a neutral kind of colored flower. This is not bright white. These are kind of like off-whitish hydrangeas. And if you look at them, depending on what color you put next to them, this right here could either pick up to look like a little blush pink color, or if you put it near browns, it can turn into like a fall color, like more of a brown color. So it can be blush or brown depending on what colors you pair it with. I like that because you can use these hydrangeas in summer, winter, spring, and fall. I use these on my Mother's Day tablescape with the pink hues, and this is how it looked. And now I'm going to use them here for a fall look and let it pick up those brown colors. So what I'm going to do is just plop these in. And it's just as simple as that. And so what I did was I just took some wicker pumpkin picks that I picked up from Hobby Lobby, and I just dispersed them throughout the arrangement. So you just figure out, you know, where these would look good and stick them in. Now, if you do not have the pumpkins, another alternative are pine cones. And these can be free if you just go outside and pick them up from outside, but make sure that you clean them because you don't want to bring bugs inside. You would wash them and then bake them in the oven to make sure that you've gotten rid of all of the critters, and then you can just use these over and over and over for years to come. So you can just kind of incorporate the pine cones into the arrangement. Now that the arrangement is completely set, what I'm going to do is take the napkins And instead of using them as a napkin, I'm going to use them as placemats. So I'm going to put one of these at each table setting. So there's going to go one. And I want to make sure that I get the most use of each flower. So I'm going to place it where the flowers look best. Turn that around. Okay. And in the back. So that's going to be the base of our table. Now the foundation for our tablescape is set up. Now I'm going to add the dishes. First up, the rattan chargers that I picked up on my most recent thrift haul. If you have not seen that video where I share some of the finds that I've got thrifting, please check that out. I'll leave that in the link in the description box below. Next up, we're going to put in our teal plates. That in. Next up, our little Dollar Tree plates, and these were a specialty item from Dollar Tree because they're not the Dollar Tree brand. I guess they were an overstock from the Better Homes and Gardens line. So we're going to put that in there. And then finally, we're going to add our pumpkins. Next up, our beautiful flatware. So in this scenario, we are serving dinner and we'll be having wine, red wine. So I'm going to put out a wine glass. I'm going to use these beautiful rose gold wine glasses. And we will be having a salad, so I'm going to put out a salad bowl and the servers. And we will also be having bread. I'm going to put a loaf of bread on here, and the bread would go nicely with our beef stew. So here's an overview of this beautiful table, and it costs next to nothing. And we just layered everything onto this table. We took a napkin, we added our beautiful rattan chargers, a beautiful teal plate, this tan plate that picked up the colors in our napkin. We're having dinner and wine, so we put out our rose gold wine glasses, and that rose gold looks really good against this tan color in the napkins. It kind of gives it that pop, and I absolutely love our teal flatware. Now let's pick apart this table. When we look at it, it looks beautiful, but in terms of function, it is not going to function very well if you're actually going to use it to serve a meal. And when I set my tables, I really do actually use the tables for meals. So I'm going to share with you what's wrong with this table, tell you why, and how I would correct it. When I come in, I know that this centerpiece is way too large for the table. There's no way I can converse with the person on the opposite side of me, nor could they see my face. So I would not have that centerpiece there when it's time to sit down for dinner. I would have it there for when guests arrive. They can ooh and ah and look at the table, but I would not keep that there during the meal. So as you can see, you want to make it simple. You want that transition to be really quick and easy and simple. So what I would do is swap out the centerpiece and actually put our serving piece in the center. So now that was a pretty easy fix. I moved our soup tureen into the center of the table, and I placed our centerpiece on the back buffet. And I really like how that looks together. It looks like that was an entire set, but those pieces were completely bought at different times in different years. Now back to our table. So that's a quick fix. You just grab the centerpiece, place it on the back, and replace it with the food that you'll be serving during your dinner. Now what I would do while I'm waiting, you know, for guests to arrive, or while we're sitting and talking before we actually sit at the table, this soup tureen with the stew in it, I would have it sitting on one of those trivets. As you can see, underneath the trivet are 3 little candle holders. You'll light tea light candles, and that will provide fire to keep your food warm. The next thing that's wrong with this table are these pumpkins. Now these are really cute. I like them, but when you're entertaining, you want to make sure that you make everything really easy and accessible for your guests. So when you and your guests come to the table, you'll see this, little pumpkin bowl, and you may be wondering, what do I do with this bowl? You may open it and find that it's empty. Naturally, you would probably take your host's lead to see what they do, but you would typically, in this scenario, since we have beef stew here, this would be the bowl to put our soup or our stew in. But this would be a little bit cumbersome because you have, this top. I would just go ahead and put the top lid there and then scoop out the stew and put it into this bowl. But this bowl is rather small, and you will probably make a mess trying to use the ladle to scoop everything into the bowl. So I typically would not use this pumpkin bowl, even though it has a fall feel for dinner. Instead, I would opt for something that would be easy to transfer my stew to. So on this place setting back here, I actually showed you how I would set it up. I would actually use that bowl for serving the stew, and that would be easy to ladle out. You can just take your soup ladle and you have a mouth wide enough to scoop and serve. You have a mouth wide enough to scoop your beef stew and serve, because the ladle fits completely into the bowl and you still have room. Likewise, if you did it with the small pumpkin bowl, you see there is a possibility for things to spill. So the takeaway here is to always worry about function. Think about how your guest will interact with the tablescape that you would actually make. So you may be asking, Carrie, what would be a great way to actually use these pumpkin bowls? And I think this would be great for either doing dessert in, if you want to, at the end of the meal, serve the dessert, have the dessert come out and sit it on, the charger, and they remove the top and you'll have a dessert in there. I also think that this pumpkin bowl would work great for maybe in the morning breakfast if you put like a fruit salad inside. So when you sat down at the table and you remove the lid, you would automatically see your fruit salad in there. So I think these bowls are best used for pre-made items, whether they be appetizers, desserts, or fruits, and just brought out to the table. These are also great to be used as condiment or dip bowls, and that would add a festive punch to your tables. So now when I sit down to this table, this would be the appropriate setup that I think would work well for myself, my guest, or my family. And this setup would tell me that, there is a spoon here. There must be some sort of a soup dish. I also see a knife and a fork, but I don't really see an entree. So it would tell me I must be having a salad course as well. So, and then I see the bread back there. So I'll be having some bread. So I know I'll probably be using my spoon for the soup, my knife and fork for my salad, and also my knife for my bread. So many of you have asked for me to incorporate table manners and etiquette into my videos. So today I thought it would be appropriate and fun to talk about bread etiquette. Now I could do an entire video on bread etiquette because there are so many rules depending on what type of bread is served, when it's served, and where it's served. So for purposes of our dinner, we're going to focus on a whole uncut loaf of bread. And we'll be serving that bread alongside our beef stew as our main entree and a salad. So today we're going to be talking about how to handle a whole uncut loaf of bread when it's placed on the table. So the proper way to place a loaf of bread on the table that is uncut is to make sure that the bread is partially covered by a napkin so that the person that the bread is nearest to can actually put their hand on the bread to steady the bread and cut a few slices off before they begin to serve and pass it around the table. So you would have a knife at the table with the bread, and let me put this down. Can you see? You would take your hand, steady your hand on the loaf of bread, and cut a few slices. And this way you ensure that your hands are not all over the bread or anything like that. Now, if a waiter, if you're out in public and a waiter doesn't give you a napkin, or if you're in someone's home and you are the person that needs to cut the bread, just ask your hostess for a napkin so that you can just lay it over the bread and cut it. Now, if you're just with your kids and your family, your husband, you don't have to go through all of this trouble. You can just rip a piece or grab a piece of bread off. But this is the proper way to do it if you're entertaining. Now, after you cut several slices of bread, you are to take a piece of bread, only touch with your hands your portion or your piece of bread. You take your bread and place it onto your plate. In this instance, this table setup does not have a bread plate on the upper left-hand corner of our plate setting, so we would just put our bread directly on the plate that's in front of us, our actual entree plate or salad plate. After you've served yourself, you will offer a piece of bread to the person to your left, and then you will begin to pass the bread to the right. And then it will just go all the way around in a counterclockwise motion. Now, should you end up using up all the bread before it gets around the entire table, if you have a larger table, the person that takes the bread that took the last piece of bread would actually move back the napkin a little bit and cut off several more slices of bread. But honestly, it would make it a lot easier if you just pre-cut the bread before you put it on the table. But I thought you would want to know, how do you handle that situation? So now that you have your bread, my bread is right here. And I guess I really should have gotten some butter to demonstrate this, but let's just say this is our tray with butter in it. And then we have our nifty little spreader, our butter knife. And you don't want to do any double dipping or anything like that. So let's pretend that there is butter in here. What I would do is take the butter spreader, take out a pat of butter. Should I want any butter? You don't necessarily have to have butter if you don't want any. Take out a pat of butter and place it on the side of my plate. And then I would pass it to the next person, or in this case, this little nifty spreader, it stands up. Isn't that really cute? I would just place it back on the table and it would just stand up. And now, how do I eat my bread once it's on my plate? The way you eat bread, you don't butter the entire piece. You wouldn't take your butter and slather it over the entire piece of bread. That's a no-no. What you do is you break off bite-sized pieces of bread. You will tear it with your hands. It is appropriate to pick bread up with your hands and use your hands. And then you would take your knife and you would take a little pat of butter. You would spread the little pat of butter on your bread on each individual bite-sized piece, and then place it in your mouth and chew. Now, you wouldn't talk with your mouth full. And you would continue to do this until all of your bread is gone. If you found this little whole bread etiquette tip helpful, leave a comment below if you'd like to know any more etiquette questions when it comes to dining or entertaining. I'd love to share more with you guys. This is something that I'm passionate about and I absolutely love. And since I'm here, I thought I'd give you another bonus quick etiquette tip. So here we're talking about our wine glasses. If you have a stem glass, you hold it by the stem. But what I wanted to share with the wine glass, when you're sitting down to eat, especially when you're in someone's home, it may be hard for them to launder their linens and things like that. At restaurants, they ship them out, their linens out to you know, a third party where they can get out any kind of stain or replace the linens for that restaurant. But in the home, that can tend to be another case. I actually did a video last year's Clean With Me Thanksgiving video where I shared with you how to get out all types of stains after you finish entertaining, red wine stains, gravy stains, and things like that, all the products that I use. I'll link that video in the description box below. But anyhow, I wanted to talk about when you're drinking from a wine glass or glass in general. When you sit down, maybe before you sit at the table, you could head to the bathroom and just blot your lipstick. Take a tissue and put it between your lips and blot, so you can take off that excess, whether it's lip gloss or whether it's extra lipstick, so that you would limit the amount of lipstick on your wine glass. And the second thing about the wine glass is that you want to just drink from the same spot every time, so that you would only have one imprint of your lip on the glass. It's kind of tacky to kind of drink all around the glass and then you'll have lipstick or you know, lip gloss all around the rim of the glass. Pick one section of glass and every time you pick it up, drink from that same section of glass, so that you would only have one place where you'll have your lipstick or your lip gloss. Hopefully you like that bonus tip, and when you go out to all of your holiday parties and different potluck dinners and visit friends and family, you can actually incorporate and practice some of these tips if you had not known them already. So you guys know I love to give you options. So let's just say we wanted to switch this table out for a breakfast instead of a dinner. I would just remove my soup tureen and I just replaced it with this platter, this divided platter. And let's just say we had different types of French toast and pancakes or something like that in the middle. You would just make sure you put out a tongue or serving piece to be able to lift your food from the platter to your plate. And here I could actually use my pumpkin. Let's say I put fresh fruit in my pumpkin, and I would just switch out my glass because I wouldn't use a wine glass at breakfast. Although some people like to drink wine for breakfast, I would replace it with a mug. And in this mug, you could either put water, juice, coffee, or tea, whatever it is that you like. And now you have a breakfast setup. Then I would put out the condiments that I would need for breakfast. I absolutely love this little syrup dispenser. I got this from Dollar Tree years ago and I absolutely love them. You can get several of them and put different flavors of syrups in them, kind of like IHOP. You know how IHOP has all the syrups lined up if you want to give your guests options, and that's just easy peasy. That's how you would convert it into a breakfast. And for lunch, we just switched it up again. So I removed the pumpkin bowl, and here we're just going to maybe have a salad and an entree for lunch. And I just placed one of those little pumpkins that I have in my arrangement. I just sat that on top. When your guests come to sit down and eat, they can just place that to the upper left hand corner to the side and place their napkins in their lap, and they are good to go. I also opted to switch out the flatware. I replaced it with some really beautiful wooden handled flatware, and I just now have a fork and a knife because we are not going to have anything that would require a spoon. So those are 3 options: your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner. Now the final thing I wanted to share in terms of switching things up is how do you switch it up to the next season? If you wanted to keep this color palette and not spend a lot of money, how would I go from fall to Christmas with this color palette? How would I remove the pumpkins and not have the pumpkin theme anymore? I would just keep my napkin. Here I just have a regular hem stitch napkin that coordinates with my place setting. All you have to do, you don't have to buy anything. You just use your imagination. You can just fold your napkin in the shape of a Christmas tree, take like a little ball or bell or a small ornament and stick that at the top. Whoops, I would actually probably use a little bit of double-sided tape or something to put the bell on top and just have yourself a little Christmas tree napkin fold. And now you went from fall to Christmas without any additional cost. Now I would swap out this this napkin that I used as a placemat and maybe put a solid color placemat or something like that, because this does not scream Christmas. Or maybe in this case I wouldn't use a napkin or a place mat at all. I would just put a tablecloth on the table and then set my table with my cute little Christmas theme. And you don't have to worry about breaking the bank. Let me know if you'd like to know how to do these different little napkin folds. I can incorporate that into my Christmas decor when I start setting up all of my Christmas decorations. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. If you learned something, please drop a comment below to let me know what you've learned. Also, if you have any other etiquette questions, or if there is something you want me to cover etiquette-wise in a future video when I do my entertaining or tablescape type videos, please leave that in the comments below. I also hope that you were able to pick up that it doesn't take much to switch things out from season to season. Don't let Instagram or all these YouTube and social media outlets think that you need to go out and buy an entire season's worth of stuff to just incorporate a little joy into your home. Also, I have a few videos that I need to edit, so let me know in the comments below what you would like to see next. The first video is a haul and sharing my Christmas theme for this year. You guys know that I always come up with a theme for each Christmas. The other option would be tips on shopping the outlets. I believe I shared with you that I was going to visit the North Georgia Premium Outlets and I was going to take you guys along with me. So I wanted to give you some tips and tricks on how to navigate outlets. And are outlets really a good deal? Are they all that they're cracked up to be? And then finally, I had a Pottery Barn dupes haul. So I wanted to share with you my thoughts on Pottery Barn, what to buy, what not to buy, and where you can get exact replicas or dupes of Pottery Barn items. I'm going to leave a poll in the description box below so that you can select which video you would like to see next. And the one that gets the most votes is the video I will actually upload next. And then the one that gets the second most votes will go up second, and finally the third. I really like this polling option. You guys really helped me out when I did the poll for my how to do a luxury vacation on a budget. I have not forgot about that video. I plan on getting out all of the holiday stuff, and at the start of the new year I will start talking about budgeting for vacations and things like that. So guys, until next time, I'm going to keep calm and carry on. Bye guys.